Okay.
Okay, so we will establish quorum by calling roll call for the OCEC CAB subcommittee members. So Scott Parsons,
Here.
Mark Thomas,
Here.
Lenita Mims.
Here.
Okay, so we do have quorum for the meeting, Chair Parsons.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do, because I see a few folks that are new to our Zoom screen, so I'll make sure I read our welcome. So good morning and welcome to everyone on this call. This is a meeting of the Outreach and Community Engagement Standing Committee, which is a subgroup of the Community Advisory Board, which is often referred to as CAB. Here are some of the rules of engagement for our meeting this morning, being that we're on Zoom. For those in the public, when not speaking, please keep your Zoom status on mute, if you would, to minimize any potential background noise. For participants calling in on a cell phone, *6 will give you mute and *6 will unmute you. We'll hear comments first from the board and then from the public by raising your hand. And Monique, you keep me honest on who has a hand up, because sometimes I don't see it. The purpose of the OCEC committee is to assist the Greater CAB in gathering and providing information pertaining to the county's efforts in criminal justice reinvestment. To that end, this committee has some responsibilities, and they are to identify outreach methods to engage the community regarding initiatives related to public safety realignment, to improve public access to information regarding realignment, to provide membership cultivation and succession planning for the CAB, and to help facilitate the CAB's ambassador program and organize the annual new member orientation. We're grateful to everyone that's on the call, and appreciate very much the commitment of the OCEC and members that are present. So our next item on the agenda is any announcements. Should I go to that, Monique, or should we ask for people to introduce themselves that have joined us?
It's totally up to you, Chair. If you'd like to have them introduce themselves, you can start with the CAB members if you like.
Yeah, sounds good. So
I can call them out if you want.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Okay, so Scott, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself first as the chair?
Okay, so I'm a voting member of the CAB and the chair of the OCEC meeting, of which we're all attending at this moment. And I'm a resident of Moraga, and I'm a proud member joining the group this morning. I think we're on a very worthy cause.
Okay, Mark Thomas is the vice chair.
Good morning. I'm Mark Thomas. I've been part of CAB since January of this year. Live up in Oakley, California.
Okay, Nikenya Allen.
Yes, hello. I am Nikenya Allen, and I am also a voting member of CAB. I have been a member about 2 years now.
And Lenita Mims.
Good morning. I'm excited to be here as well. I am a voting member on CAB, and I live in East County in Oakley, California.
Okay. And so you have a couple of visitors. If you'd like them to introduce themselves, I can call them out, or if you'd like them to introduce themselves in the chat.
Well, I like them to feel welcome to introduce themselves, right now if they wish.
Okay, so I'll start with the chair of CAB, Crawford Carpenter.
I'm Crawford Carpenter. I'm a member of CAB, and for particularly our new person that's joining us, Evan there, I started out with OCEC, and I worked under the guidance of Nikenya. So welcome, And thank you.
Okay. And then since you mentioned Evan, I'll go ahead and introduce Evan. Have Evan introduce himself rather.
Thanks so much, Monique, and thanks, Crawford, for that welcome gesture as well. I'm Evan Decker. I'm Workforce and Economic Development Dean at Contra Costa College. I reside in Berkeley, but I am here at the college probably equally the number of hours as I am in Berkeley. So I have a great interest in the CAB and also I've been here at the college for 7 years, so very interested in our West Contra Costa area region and supporting efforts in that area.
Thank you. And so Elisa Robinson.
Good morning, everyone. Elisa Robinson with the Office of Supervisor Diane Burgess. Pleasure to be here with you guys.
So we had another person on the call, but they dropped off. So it's just the 8 of us now. So if you'd like to proceed with announcements.
Okay, well, I will do that. And again, to Evan, we welcome you, and you'll kind of be in a informal interview status. You're probably aware of that. In another probably 15 minutes, where we're going to have questions for you, but we'd also like to know whatever else you'd like to share about yourself and in expressing your interest for this committee or for the CAB. So, okay, I do have an announcement, and I had said at the last OCEC meeting that I think of interest to this group. My Rotary Club was going to be meeting with an individual with DVC to start the process on a couple different kinds of scholarships that we'll be funding out of Rotary. And one of them is the nursing program. And this is in addition to what we already do with DVC, but we haven't done the nursing program. So we're going to be doing that. And we're going to be doing a scholarship for an incarcerated person re-entering society. And we're really excited about it. So we met yesterday with Jim Blair at I think it's Papillon Coffee Shop in Lafayette. And what a great dynamic guy he is. And we're on our way. So we're going to be starting that process pretty quickly, but since it's consistent with our mission, I thought it would be of interest to some here that that's occurring.
So I'll also introduce myself. I forgot to introduce myself. So I'm Monique Tate with the Office of Reentry and Justice. Thank you.
That probably the most important introduction right there, the person that keeps us honest and as well on the Brown Act and keeping us in order. So anyway, public comment on any item. Oh, are there any other announcements though, before I move on? And I will open in the agenda to announcements if someone thinks of something of interest that they'd like to share, but we'll move on since I don't see any hands up. So from public comment on any item under the jurisdiction of the Community Advisory Board, but not on the agenda. Do we have anyone that would like to make a public comment?
It's Lanita. I just wanted to publicly say I'm gonna miss Dale.
Oh gosh, yes. You know, I got back from vacation and I saw that email and I thought, you know, he did not ask my permission to do that. Because I really like that guy and thought he was a great member of the team. So for anyone on the call that don't know what we're speaking to, it was a member of our board that needed to, for personal reasons, move on and he had to resign from CAP, but a guy in very good standing that we are very fond of. Thank you for that, Lenita. So I'm looking for next on the agenda, approval of the August 16th OCEC meeting minutes. So do I have a motion from someone for that?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting. It's Lenita.
Okay, Lenita, thank you. And do we have a second?
I will second it, Mark.
Oh, Mark, thank you very much. So for this, we would, is there any discussion on those minutes before we take a vote or public comment? Not hearing any, you can go ahead, Monique, for a vote.
Okay, so Scott Parsons,
Yes?
Mark Thomas,
Yes.
Lenita Mims,
Yes.
and let me see if anyone else is here. Nikenya Allen, sorry.
I,
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Super, and I see that you are right on point there, or at least you were, with the document. It was there, I saw it. There it is. And I'm glad to, because we still show, and this is the next agenda item, it's a standing item for membership status. So for anyone on the call that doesn't know where everyone is aligned geographically or by assignment, this document provides some information on that. So with that said, I guess we still have, we have Dale Harrington's vacancy, right?
Yes, so I will update the membership at a glance. I don't know if I received it before that was organized together, the packet, but I will definitely update the record to reflect Dale's resignation.
Oh, okay. So what else? I think there must be something else here, just because, well, I'm looking and the alternate list hasn't changed, but pretty quickly here in the agenda, I'm going to want to talk about. I know we've moved Michelle Carter's name forward, and you and I talked yesterday, and I also talked at one point with Crawford, since there's going to be a process for, Michelle, I would certainly like to entertain the notion of either moving forward also Reverend Van Hook or Joel for consideration as well, so that we're not, wasting too much time in between approval processes. So
Right.
We'll get to that in a minute, but is there any other word from anyone on the call reference to this document for updates? Okay, well, Monique, I think.
So I could go on and give a brief update on what we talked about yesterday to add to this. So yes, so I wasn't able to add Michelle's to the vacant seat for the CCP meeting that just happened September 16th. The next meeting will be November 4th. So I'll make sure that they have the report to add it to their agenda for November. But we'll also have another seat to fill because of Dale's resignation. So Crawford will work with CAB and appoint someone. You all will vote to have another alternate, like Scott said, either Reverend Van Hook or Joel to fill the vacancy. And all of that will show up on the November CCP. And if we have new applicants, that will be reflected on their report as well.
Oh, good.
So I have a question. So how many vacancies do we have now? 2 or 3?
We have 2. So with Dale's resignation, we have 2 vacant seats. And yes, we have 2.
Okay.
So, thank you, Monique, for sharing that. And I think, well, is there any other discussion then on this document? Because as we move into discuss the next agenda item, discussing a new member application, and of course, we're going to have the interview with Evan in just a few moments. I was thinking of inserting in that section some conversation about who else whether it would be the Reverend Van Hook or Joel Nicholson Shanks that we would move forward. And I put it in that agenda area there. But before we leave this document, any other comments? Okay, well, gosh. So we can move on then to our new applicant, Evan Decker.
And
So,
Scott, I just want to let you know that Joel has joined the meeting. I don't know if you want him to introduce himself since he's a board member for,
well, that'd be great. So let's do that before, and we'll let the hot seat warm up for for Evan then. So if Joel would be kind enough to introduce himself to the people on this call, that'd be wonderful.
No problem at all. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Joel Nicholson Shanks. I'm the Student Success and Onboarding Manager at Contra Costa College. Been a part of CAB for about 4 months now. Might be giving myself too much time, but just getting started. And I'm happy that we have Evan here, who is my colleague. So good luck to him on that hot seat.
Well, there it is. Thank you, Joel. So, okay. I'm not exactly sure how this has always been handled in the past, but if anyone wants to adjust I was going to have Evan give a new introduction, even though we've all reviewed his application. I was going to have Evan do an introduction of himself, and then us, as we desire to ask questions to further our understanding of his repertoire of ability, skills, and attributes. How's that?
Sounds good.
So, Evan, you have the floor, and would love to give you this opportunity. You wrote a very nice application, by the way, and very complete in terms of describing who you are. But this is a chance kind of that if we were sitting having coffee, this is what you'd say. So feel relaxed and share whatever you'd like about yourself before we move into questions.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that. And again, it's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity and appreciate both Mr. Nicholson Shanks and Ms. Tate for being in communication with me about the opportunity. So yeah, I guess if we're sitting having coffee, a few things too that don't come across in the application. I have been a resident in Berkeley for the past 12 years, but like I said, working here at Contra Costa College for 7 of those years. I'm originally from New York State. I have 2 kids, a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old. I have a 12th grader. So we've got exciting activities happening there in relation to finishing high school and 13-year-old. So, no comment there. We'll keep that moving as we will. I was a late bloomer, as perhaps they might say. I didn't actually start my undergraduate studies until I was about 26. I had multitude of life experiences before that informed my direction, and have really since the time around that age, 25, 26, been interested in supporting young people in achieving their educational and their career goals. And so I was working in New York City as an after-school program director and also college advisor supporting students in really identifying those interests and goals simultaneously while I was in my undergrad degree. So there was a lot of mutual learning happening there from young folks looking to identify their interests as well as mine exploring. So I really have been kind of in the education kind of for the past 20 years. I've been an after school program director, a college advisor, a social studies teacher. I worked at San Francisco Unified for a number of years as the career education coordinator over there. I did my graduate degree in education leadership and business administration at Mills College, shout out Cyclones. And from there came here to CCC, where I really enjoy working. I enjoy community and colleagues, and have this really amazing opportunity to impact, again, that mission of mine to support folks in achieving their career and educational goals through numerous state and federal grant funds and some private funds as well here at the college and in my position. So that's a little bit more about me. I guess I'll leave it there. Unless there's something I missed, but I'm sure if there's something I missed, you all will were astute in your observations and will ask a question of me.
Well, actually, that was excellent. So before we go into questions, were there any questions that someone may have of what Evan just shared with us? And can I assume, Joel, that you brought this to Evan's attention, our committee, or is this something that just happened by coincidence?
I believe I brought it to one of the managers in Evan's area, and then we had a brief conversation about it. But I'm sure once he elaborates on his position at the college, it all kind of makes sense and works together. So I'm assuming he had someone in the past who probably sat on the committee as well, or had some kind of interacting with it. But long story short, yes, we did have a conversation.
Well, that's great. And I just want to compliment you, because that is what's going to make our committee be sustainable and to get good candidates. And thank you for reaching out in your community there about our needs. So that is appreciated. So I am going to let others ask questions before I do, because I think that's the right way to do this. So I do know that Crawford, you had a couple of questions that you wanted to ask of Evan. So you have the floor right now, if you'd like.
Well, maybe rather than questions from me, I'd rather wait till the end. And maybe you could start with Mark, then go to Nakenya, Lanita, and Joel. And if I have some questions, I'll chime in at the end. I'd want to be respectful of the committee members, and I would like to do that.
Okay.
And Lanita has her hand up, Scott.
Oh, excellent. Lanita, you have the floor.
Okay, so Evan, I would like to know what brings you and what are your interests in CAB?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Lanita. So to be quite frank and honest, prior to my conversation with Joelle, I did not know that CAB existed. So it was really great to kind of review the CAB charge and learn more about the committee structure, and specifically what brings me to it is kind of an alignment of the CAB charge and purpose with a number of our college funding sources and programs here at the college. We have, since the time I've been here, as I said, 7 years, for 5 of those years and continuing on, I work with within our adult education consortium which has a specific relationship and partnership with the West County Detention Facility, where we support the Office of Education classes, but also hold our own classes and have an employee that does transition support in that area. Also through our workforce state funds, definitely working with formerly incarcerated and currently incarcerated populations is in alignment with those funds. So we've, for a number of years, I identified pathway supports, whether it's working with the Reentry Success Center or the county probation to support students obtaining credit before they leave a facility or immediately following. We've had a campus, a student campus group on campus for a few of those years that have been here. But in looking more over the CCP charge, found a real alignment there and a real opportunity to get a deeper engagement than I previously have had.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
So Monique, you have a little clearer picture of who may have a hand up. So do we have any other hands at this point?
No, there aren't any hands. I don't know if you want to simply ask each board member if they have a question.
Sure. Sure. That's another way to approach it. So since on my screen, I'm looking at you, Joel, right at this moment. Are there any questions that you may have for Evan?
He kind of answered the main question that I had, and it was going to be how the work he does with his department lines up with the work that we're doing right now. But I think he did a great job of kind of answering that and how those funds align, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out with him, because I know under his department, we were doing work to support formerly incarcerated students and wanted to continue that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Joel, and I can also elaborate. The state right now has another pocket of money that they're using for funding called Rising Scholars Grant. And so the Rising Scholars Network, which came, I think, originally out of UC Berkeley, has now expanded statewide, and I think they're in the third cycle of offering funds. They have a number of ways that funds can be distributed to the colleges for either programs within a prison, programs within a county jail like we have here, or programs on campus. And so we have had a staff member, Demetria Lawrence, who in the past has worked very closely with Rising Scholars and brought those frameworks to our attention here. And so it's our intention to submit a grant in this cycle for some of that funding, again, to kind of increase the opportunity for students while they're currently incarcerated at the detention facility, or upon release, or those that are already out, increase the opportunity for them to engage in the college to achieve whatever their goal is, whether it's career focused or academic focused, transfer focused. Those funds will really help to support staffing as well as incentives for students to stay engaged and on campus.
Can I ask a follow-up question really quick?
Yes.
So with those funds, once that grant is granted to you guys, which I'm hopefully that you will get, right? Do you guys have, do you have a list of the programs that will be offered to the young people that are at the detention center?
Yeah, so right now we are starting off with a counseling course. In the past, we've had, with the County Office of Education, we've been able to offer credit through an articulation agreement with the classes that they're offering. So we're moving in kind of alignment with that to now offer our own classes in the detention facility. We're starting out with a counseling class, and our focus in this particular pathway will be students achieving general education requirements that are UC transferable. So we'll be looking at classes to support English language acquisition, so our ESL classes, our English 1A classes, which is your base class, also looking at Math 164 and statistics. There are a couple other classes in some of the other areas that we're looking at. We haven't decided on them right now, but that kind of entry level, if you will, into education. And that way students, whether they want to pursue a career program or a transfer program, will have that kind of base academic understanding, which they'll need regardless of which program they go into.
Right. Thank you. That's amazing. I love it.
Mark has his hand up now.
Oh, Mark, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. Well, Evan is already answering most of the questions. I keep trying to write down questions. You keep answering them before I get to the name. So, well, that's pretty good.
I'm sorry, Mark.
No, I mean, well, he keeps answering even before. And you guys, well, I was thinking, so a committee is often like a team. On teams, people have different roles and bring different qualities to a team. So what do you think you would bring to CAB and to this committee? What qualities or skills that you might have?
Yeah, I mean, of course, not knowing the team, a motto that I kind of have with my children, it's, sometimes you just got to get in where you fit in. And so, not knowing the team, not exactly sure what particular skill might be most appropriate for this group. But I think, at least in terms of thinking about West County and opportunities for engagement around public safety, around reentry, around folks that are currently incarcerated. I bring an opportunity to formalize some pathways, partnerships, and relationships within our community and with organizations to really make sure that we're providing the safety net, if you will, for students in the community to engage on the college, whether that is in utilizing our career services department, or accessing financial literacy through our SparkPoint partnership, utilizing the food service pantry, any kind of number of the resources that the college provides for the community at large. Of course, Joelle has that background and knowledge as well, in terms of being able to support some of those activities and outreach through funding, and also a bit of an ear to the state, if you will, in terms of policies and legislation around funding that can support furthering someone's goal and achieving their desired outcome. I hope to be able to bring that. On the other side, Joelle knows quite well, I tend to be a wannabe comedian, so I definitely can bring levity as well. So, but hopefully not inappropriate levity ever. So yeah, so I look forward, if given the opportunity, to get to know what strengths would be the best fit. I appreciate that question, Mr. Thomas.
All right, thank you.
A sense of humor is very important in our work here as a group, so that's a good quality. Okay, so going down the line, Nakenya, you knew I was headed your way. Is there anything that you'd like to ask that hasn't been asked? I'm going to assume that was no. until I hear otherwise. You know, Alyssa Robinson, you're on the call. I certainly have no hesitation whatsoever to ask, is there something that you would like to ask our candidate?
You know, I don't have any questions that you guys haven't covered. Evan, you've done an excellent job with your responses.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, he sure has. Okay, have I skipped any of our actual committee members? I don't believe I.
No, you reached out to each committee member.
Okay, so Crawford has said he wants to be last, even though I said I wanted to be last, because you know that way you ask the most powerful. But anyway, so I think this is about me now.
Well, excuse me, I'll go and you can go last. How's that? Hey, you're the chair. Hey, fine. Okay.
All right, Crawford has the floor.
Okay. Well, you know what's interesting? What you said levity, Evan. So I'll start out with a little levity here. Since you're from New York, are you a Bills, Jets, or Giants fan? And that will determine your answer whether you are accepted on the committee. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. But which fan are you?
Well, oddly enough, I grew up in Rochester, New York, so that's about an hour from Buffalo.
Okay.
So all of my family are Bills fans, but I had an aunt that married a lineman for the Miami Dolphins. So so the Miami Dolphins were actually my team.
Okay.
And
well,
I hate to admit it out here in the Bay Area, but I'm also a Knicks fan. So, but
hey,
you know,
not much to be a fan of, though.
those are drowned sorrows for another time. That's yeah.
Oh, hey, this will be fun potentially, Evan. Okay, well, thank you for that. And maybe I could start with the first question here. What guidance would you provide to an individual preparing to reentry or preparing for reentry into society?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, and this is often a challenging question. And for me, is I've never been in that situation, so I don't have kind of a life experience to back up a response on. Which I've generally been thankful to at least have a connection with folks in the community that do have had those experiences, so they can offer more of their own experience. But what I do relay to folks is just the opportunity that is being presented to identify what their goal is and really work towards achieving that, and kind of being able to identify what are the resources that are needed through inquiry, really asking individuals, what is it, where are you at, what is it that you need, how can I be of support, and then also letting folks know that I'm here for you. You can reach out, of course, with anything related to the college. We through our partnerships, of course, have a number of resources for folks. I think for me, where this has come up the most has been in our forklift and operations warehouse program. And it's always really challenging, as folks in the program are often seeing this as a last resort or as a first opportunity. And so really being able to listen where folks are at in that process, ask questions about where it is, like what do they see as the next step. I know for myself earlier in life, often the next step wasn't always so clear, and it was always appreciated when someone would bring to my attention, what are you going to do? What are you going to do next? So yeah, so I think that's generally where I'm able to meet folks at, is where they are, and really try and connect with them around their goals, and how I can be supportive in that way.
Thank you, Evan. Appreciate that. My next question for you. In reading through your resume, your vita, etc., you mentioned equity impacts across demographics. Could you elaborate just briefly on that?
Sure. It's something we deal with here at the college quite frequently. And one of around my personal mission in terms of supporting folks and meeting their career and educational goals, part of the underlying component of that is raising opportunity for social and economic mobility. And when I'm talking about equity across demographics, we are thinking about the disproportionate impacts of policies, be they economic policies, justice-related policies, that corporate financial policies that are having a disproportionate impact on a community, whether that is a community, a particular racial demographic or economic demographic. That equity lens of being able to identify or at least use data to support who are the impacted populations around a particular issue, and then helping to generate solutions to specifically address increasing those opportunities or outcomes for that group. That's I think what I mean by that.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Moving to another area, and again, reading through your impressive background, you sit on 2 other boards. Do you think you will have time to serve on CAB? And we are we are a working board, and we meet not just once a month for our general CAB meeting. We have our standing committees, and sometimes those standing committees have assignments for us, working assignments. For example, Joel was kind enough to pick up the assignment, to pick up the ball and run with it. And he reached out to various individuals, and he did, in fact, reach out to you. I wanted to share with you our schedule of meetings, because not only would you have to attend the general CAB meeting, we would put you, depending hopefully on your desires, but based on CAB's needs, we have a general CAB meeting, which is the second Thursday of each month at 10:30 in the morning. As you're aware, we have our OCEC meeting. That is the meeting you are at now, which is on the 3rd Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. And then our second standing committee would be programs and services. And that meeting is on the 3rd Thursday at 11 o'clock of each month. And finally, we have our policy and budget committee. And they meet on the 3rd Friday at 10:30 of each month. My concern and question to you is, you look like one busy man. Would you be able to not only attend our general meeting, but also one of our standing committee meetings?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mr. Carpenter. In reviewing the schedule of meetings from the website, I think the only one that I have a conflict with is the third Thursday. And we have a regional meeting that I would not be able to kind of get out of. But all of the other meetings, I definitely can fit in my schedule. And I think the important thing around that, being at the college, very familiar with committees and meetings and scheduling and that type of thing. I think kind of an important thing around, if given the opportunity to participate in CAB, is that, as mentioned before, it aligns with a number of initiatives that we have here on the campus. And so the priority level for me is increased and much higher, because I want to positively impact the folks in our community and being able to have those opportunities. So other than that third Thursday conflict, none of the other meeting times would be an issue.
Evan, thank you so very much. And I am finished with my comments, Mr. Chair.
All right. Well, good questions. And one of yours, Crawford, was what I was going to ask. So I only have two now, Evan, and we may be at the end of this tour. There's no right answer, okay, to mine. So don't worry about that. But it's Tuesday. Your 17-year-old and your 13-year-old go, hey, what are we doing this weekend? We want to do something fun. What kind of recreation do you try to pick and choose to please a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old?
We are definitely blessed to have a variety of interests in my household. My 13-year-old is a skateboarder. So he really enjoys hitting up the skate park. My 17-year-old is an all-around athlete, but his main area is soccer. And then my wife and I really enjoy water sports, paddleboarding or boogie boarding or swimming. And then I also enjoy riding a bike. So deciding amongst a family of four what all of us are going to do can be quite challenging. Generally, the thing that we often fall on is going to the beach, doing some boogie boarding, enjoying swimming, that kind of thing. We always find a lot of relaxation there. Otherwise, we'll go for a hike up in Tilden Park or ride our bikes out in Crockett sometimes. So those are kind of generally the three: going to the beach, going on a hike, or riding our bikes. Those are our three go-tos.
Cool. I like all those.
Awesome.
Yeah. And the last question for me would be, there's been an earthquake. You live in Berkeley. There's on the Hayward Fault, and there's actually quite a few needs occurring in the city of Berkeley for volunteers. If you were to come down to the Emergency Operations Center and I was running it and I said, well, what do you do best? How can I use you? What comes to your mind?
Yeah, in those emergency type situations, well, I'll relate it this way. It's not quite an emergency situation, but my mom back in the day was a running club coordinator in Rochester. And I was, 8, 9, 10 years old at the time she was doing this. And I would always get tasked either, kind of handing out water and that type of thing, or at the end being the encouraging person that was like, yay, good job, you did it. So in this instance, when people are perhaps very scared, are looking for, personal necessities, that kind of thing, I really enjoy being able to connect with folks. And in that time of need, if they're coming and say, oh, I need this particular thing, or hey, are you okay? Here's this particular thing. So definitely out with the people, being able to provide some type of direct service or some takeaway for them. That's really, I think, where I would be the best.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, those encouraging and supportive skills, I think will serve us well here on this committee. So, Monique, well, let me ask, is there anyone else to include Monique? Did you want to ask any questions?
No, I think you all have done a great job asking questions, and I think Evan has done a great job answering. So I don't have any, but thank you for offering.
Okay, so from a structure standpoint, we need to have a motion, right, for this candidate to move forward to the full cab.
Correct.
And I guess then this would be the appropriate time to see if we have anyone that would make a motion for Evan Decker to be approved to go before the full board for the next interview process. Do I have a motion from anyone?
This is Lanita. I don't want to go first because I went first on the last one, but I am absolutely excited about making a motion for Evan to move forward. And I think that he would be a great addition to what we're doing.
So we have a motion from Lanita, and do we have a second for that motion?
I second it.
All right, Mark provides a second. So after a first and a second on the motion, it's time for discussion, if there is any, either by board members or the public. Do we have anyone that would like to discuss this further? The only discussion I have is, Lanita, you wrapped it up there with your comments. I couldn't have said it any better. So with that said, I guess we need to call out a vote for those voting members, right, Monique?
Yes, and I'll go ahead and do the roll call for the vote. So Scott Parsons.
A yes to
Mark
our
Tom-
candidate going forward.
Okay, Mark
Ye-
Thomas,
Yes.
Lanita Mims,
Absolutely.
and Nakenya Allen.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Excellent. Well, you know, Evan, it's been a pleasure this morning having you come before this group. The same process will occur with the greater CAB at our next CAB meeting. And when is that, by the way, Monique?
Hold on, I'm so sorry. I didn't call Joel. I need to add Joel to the vote. I'm sorry.
That's a yes for me, though.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for that. I'm typing up my notes and I realized I didn't have Joel added. So motion passes unanimously for real this time.
Yeah, good. Well, great. So, yeah, Evan what's the meeting, the next date of the full CAB meeting?
I think it's October 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so October 13th, there will be an opportunity for people to ask questions as well. Probably it won't be as time consuming, and the fact that the OCEC has certainly validated your selection unanimously, that goes a long ways with our CAB. So thank you very much, Evan, for your performance this morning. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Parsons. I definitely appreciate the opportunity, the very thoughtful questions, and I'm really excited. Look forward to getting to work.
Great. So the agenda item that I mentioned earlier that fits best in this is in preparation of the CCP meeting, the next one, which is November 4th, we want to send 2 names forward, and most hopefully we're also sending a new candidate name forward at that point too. But we have two, what would you say, two alternate members. We've already approved Michelle to be considered by the CCP as a full-time member. But we need to have two now that we have two openings. And I wanted to start a discussion on whether we should be sending Joel Nicholson Shanks forward to be a voting member with our validation, or should it be Reverend Julius Van Hook at this point? So for discussion purposes, I open that up to the committee. And is there anyone that would like to provide some direction on that, except for Joel? We know what your answer would be, right? Yeah. So anyone that would wish to make a comment on this?
Okay, so here I go again.
Oh,
Yay, Lenita, thank you.
I would like to see Joe be recommended for one of the applicant vacancies. I think that, as I said in his interview, he makes a great addition to what we're doing. And I see him participating, and I see him in the meetings, and I see him asking questions, and I really want to put that out there. Like, I would like to see Joe be recommended for one of the vacancies.
Okay, so Lenita has, in essence, nominated Joel to go forward. Is there anyone else that would like to provide information? Because this is a tough one. You know, both are excellent candidates. So, Lenita, I appreciate you diving in first and having a word on the subject, because it's they are both excellent, right? So,
Mark has his hand up.
oh, Mark.
yeah, with this time, Lenita, I almost tried to beat you, but my hand was a little slow. Anyway, no, same thing. I've seen Joel. Joel's been here, and I've seen him participating. So I would just favor putting him forward. He's participating, and that's all for me.
Okay. So we have comment from Lenita and from Mark. Anyone else with the OCEC, or actually anyone on the call that wants to offer an opinion? Crawford, did you want to weigh in?
I think this will be an interesting decision or recommendation. I think we may have to take one step back, and we'll have to take the step back and again, for equity, equity across the playing field. Previously, and I think if we could check our notes, when we basically had three people that came to us at the same time, Michelle, Joel, and Reverend Van Hook. And we had to step back. And I think we said it was based on when the applications were submitted. I don't know whether Reverend Van Hook's application was submitted before Joel's application or vice versa. So we may want to at least take a step back and just check the process, you know, so that we are consistent. And with that being said, I can recall actively recruiting Joel and him driving, and Joel saying, well, wait a minute, I know we're close to a deadline, but I think I can make it. And by George, the son of a gun made it. He did it. So I'm all for you, Joel. Don't get me wrong, but we still may want to be consistent with whatever our process was. And if there are some extenuating circumstances, you know, possibly one of the candidates isn't ready to step forward also. But I I hear the committee's message loud and clear. We all do.
And
Support and definitely
I don't know.
understand the decision, just to throw that out there.
Pardon me?
I'm not
Uh,
sure if Mark still has his hand up. Joel made a comment, but I'm not sure if Mark has his hand up for another question or if it's previous.
Yeah, no, I raised it again. No, I just, what Crawford said, maybe want to see, what committee is the Reverend on? Is he in this?
He is on policy and budget.
Oh, so we just don't know. Well, I mean, I didn't know what he may be participating fully there. So I was making a mistake. Haven't seen him on this one because he's in another committee. So I have to reconsider that. But so we have to figure out what, like Crawford said, what's the proper procedure process based on.
So Joe made a comment. Can you repeat what you said, Joe, for us?
Yes, ma'am. I was just saying I appreciate the support, but understand the decision where we have to make sure we're doing what's fair for both sides. I know all three of us joined at the same time, and so I understand any direction that it goes. Hopefully you're able to hear me. If not, I can put my headphones on. But I was just saying I understand the decision and that we have to be fair, but I appreciate the support.
Okay, no, I heard you. Thank you for that. And I know that at some point we're gonna have a second seat because Dale has left us and moved on. So maybe that seat can go to Joe as well. But my first comment still stands. I would like to see Joe.
Sure. Well, I think, yeah. And Crawford, thank you for bringing that up. I think that's an important element. Now, what my question would be, is that just a piece of the information to be considered, or is the date of application considered the driving force for who goes forward? Do you know?
We'll consider all of those. In effect, we had a tie previously. So the way we wanted to do it then was we just take the date of application and we'll, sit down with staff, et cetera, and see what the process, should be based on participation, et cetera, at meetings and on and on.
Okay.
But this recommendation is important.
Yes, it is. You're right. And I'm glad that you brought that up. And to that point, Monique, do we know, or do you have the ability while we have this meeting? The only reason I'm seeming a little persistent for us to deal with this is if we don't deal with it, and we're the ones that initiate the process, we don't meet again for a month. And then it goes before CAB, which is another month almost. And there'd be quite a bit of time to where we'd be absent that voting member. But do we know the actual date of app at this point?
I don't have it in front of me, which it'll take me a minute to find, but let me state this also. So basically the next item is update on application process, right? Which I was going to give an update. So
Yes.
let's say that this is part of that update, because it relates to the application process,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So we'll say that we have this robust discussion on the application process. And then next week we'll have our agenda planning meeting. And we can certainly, I can certainly have the information for you all at that time. And then the formal vote from the full body, it can be added for the October 13th meeting. So if that's okay with you, I think that's the order, and I can give more information on the update on the application process, which has to do with the online application. Will that suffice?
Yeah. So let me just get clarification, and then you have the floor for the next agenda item anyway. But I just want to make sure from a protocol standpoint that we're doing this correctly. And are you saying then that this could go before the full committee, this issue of which one of these two alternates will go forward? This can be an agenda item for the next meeting of the full
I
cab?
believe so. Crawford,
Yeah.
doesn't that make sense as far as?
We will make it, yes, we will.
Yes, so we're actually at the update on the application process. So what I was saying is this discussion overall could be part of that. It
Okay.
will be under update on the application process, right? So I'll take notes to say that we had this robust discussion about filling the seats. And actually there will be 2 seats to fill, Lanita. So one will be Michelle, and then one will be this recommendation that we're discussing now that will be voted upon on October 13th in preparation to submit to CCP for the November 4th meeting.
So can you do that without our recommendation, or do we need to have a recommendation regardless of what Crawford brought up, which is very important, but do we?
Well, I think it's essentially the same thing as what I think I'm saying.
Yeah,
Well,
Is it, Crawford?
Well, I would say make the recommendation, vote on it, and then we have something firm to bring to the agenda planning meeting, and we have something firm to bring to the decision-making process.
Well,
Okay.
I thought that you guys were going to, well, I thought that we were going to have me do the research to find out the application that came first between Joel and Reverend Van Hook, right? And based on that, we were going to determine who may be brought forth. And I think some of it could be handled in the agenda planning. I don't know. I may be incorrect. What do you think, Crawford?
Oh, okay, I see what you're getting at, yes. But you know, what is it? It's like a mosaic. There's not just one thing. We're gonna put the whole picture together. And maybe that's the approach we should take. You know, this committee makes a recommendation. That doesn't mean that after staff looks at it, etc., that they may say, yes, we considered OCEC's recommendation. However, we're going to go in this direction for these reasons. So I would, I have no problem with you voting on it, making a recommendation, and moving forward.
So I'll make the recommendation that Joel should be recommended to take one of the open seats on the cab as a voting member.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. So we do have a motion, and thank you, Lanita, for that. Do we have a second on the motion to move Joel Nicholson Shanks forward for consideration by the, and I do see a second coming from Mark
Yes.
Thomas, and
Thank you, Mark.
So at this point, and there's a lot of discussion so far. There may be more discussion. So I would open it up again if anyone wanted to make a comment or add to the discussion. Okay, I do. I'm going to make a comment, if I may, as a board member. I agree with the motion as stated, because even though I see both candidates in standing equally, I'm so impressed with what Joel has done to try to further exposure of our group to competent and strong candidates to consider us. And that would be the tipping for me to push Joel's name forward. So I just wanted to throw that in. I'll call for a vote now on the motion that was presented, Monique.
Okay. So, Scott Parsons,
Yes, on moving Joel forward for
Mark
consideration.
Thomas,
Yes.
Lanita Mims,
Yes.
and Nakenya Allen.
Aye.
And Joel, I'm going to call on you as well. It is totally up to you how you want to vote.
Is it okay if I abstain?
It's
Just
okay
'cause
for you to.
I'm a little biased.
Okay, it's totally up to you to abstain. Okay, so the vote is 4 yeses and 1 abstention.
Once again, I genuinely appreciate the support, and I promise to do my best if granted the opportunity, of course.
Great. Well, you're very deserving of that support. And thank you, Crawford, too, by the way, for bringing up that point of order. And the full cab can know our recommendation and that point of order when it comes. So to validate or not our decision. All right, now you have the floor, Monique, on other things dealing with the update of the application recruiting and marketing process.
Okay, so I have finally updated the online application process. So I've updated it with my contact information. So when you click on the link, it'll go to my information. And then I took away the information with deadlines. Before we had the number of available seats and the deadline to apply. So talking to Crawford, we agreed that it should be an open application process, because we want to have applications coming in on an ongoing basis. And so now that is done, and I sent out recruitment flyers to 2 of the board members that will be actively passing out the recruitment flyers. So now the updated information is there. So that is what I wanted to report on.
Okay. And is this that you forwarded the updated poster?
Yes.
Of what you're referring to then, and has everyone had a chance to look at this?
No, I didn't post it on the agenda, but I can certainly blind copy everyone and just send it out for their reference.
Yeah, that would be great. And that would give everyone a chance to look at it. And it certainly can be something that Crawford may want to have before the full cab for comment. I certainly like the work you did. And I think it's going to be effective in accomplishing the mission. So good job.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, keeping with the agenda and moving things along, because we're almost starting to deadline out here, 12:15. So we only have 15 minutes left. If it's not a problem, I kind of want to kind of bring two issues up, the 5 and 6, review and update work plan, and then the discuss OCEC charter. I kind of wanted to comment to the charter first. Can I go out of order on an agenda, Monique?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I know that's important to Crawford. And the bottom line is, with the work plan, whether we like the formatting or not, it's not as critical as giving the go-ahead on the charter for OCEC. So I wanted to start a discussion on that. Is there anyone that has comment on the charter, any recommendations in terms of changes, or do you like it the way it is? All right, so Lenito, did you want to say something?
No, I'm going through it right now.
Okay. You look like you were about to say something, so I was hoping you you were. I've looked it over, and Crawford, it's good you're on this call. I've looked it over, and I'm pretty much at peace with what I've seen, and it looks like some good work was done on it. So I didn't have any changes that I wanted to make.
Scott, if I may,
Yes.
I would ask each of your standing committee members to pay particular attention to point number 3, responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Are we asking too much of volunteer people?
I'm going to have to read over it again to be able to
And-
effectively address
Yeah.
that question. So we all have a moment to look at this.
Yes, would you please?
Yeah.
So I do have one question.
Please.
On number 3E, it says assist CAB to organize an annual new member orientation and strategic planning. Do we do that already? Is that something that we're gonna begin to do?
So Crawford, I came after the orientation was provided for this last year or this year, I guess. So can you answer that? Is this something we've always done in OCEC?
Well, that's why I posed the question. When I first was involved with OCEC, we really didn't have a role or much of a role in the new member orientation and strategic planning. I mean, boy, you nailed it, Lenita. But when we do the retreat, that's when all of this information is brought to the table, where they discuss strategic planning. And in fact, Scott, because of that item number E that you, Lenita, mentioned, we had, or when I was moved up into the role I'm playing now, I decided to have those, talking CAB or CAB talks, because we really weren't doing anything. Hey, you can leave it in. Hey, your choice. This is your committee, but the mere fact that we didn't have a role. Now think about it. We're getting ready to do the retreat probably in 2 months in preparation for the retreat. Well, this will be one more thing in addition to your work plan for the coming year. Do you see what I'm getting at? And I don't know what type of a role, maybe this is something for Patrice to comment on, but I immediately recognized that we hadn't done, or we were not actively involved in item E. And maybe, I don't know whether it should or should not be here. That's all.
So,
go ahead, Scott.
Yeah. So Lenita, when you know what, I hear your point, I believe, on this. And Crawford, I guess why I'm not as troubled by it. It says E, assist CAB to organize an annual new member orientation and strategic planning. It didn't say OCEC organize an annual new member orientation. You know what I mean? So
Okay,
the
good
weight
point.
of it, because of the way this is worded, certainly gives room for us to support that process, but it doesn't align us with being responsible for it.
Well, and I actually feel like, because we are, so first of all, let me say this, let me back up a little bit. No, I think that the outreach and community engagement committee charter is perfect. 2, I think that number 3, all of the responsibilities are on point. And then 3, I think that the letter E should be a responsibility of this committee, because we are the people who have first glance at who's coming in and what's happening, and we make the recommendation. Wow. And for me personally, when I went through this process, had Crawford not did that orientation, I would be totally lost. And so I would like to step up and say, for all the newcomers, all the new people that we're going to engage in this process, I feel like it should be a part of what we do. And I think that the people that are coming would appreciate, especially if they are strategic thinkers such as I, or planners such as I, to come into a situation and I don't know what's going to happen, what the history is, where we're going.
Yeah.
That would definitely like boggle me. So I would even step up to take some responsibility for being the person that's assisting, because I need to know, you know, with the way that I think and the way that I operate in my calendar, I need to know what's happening, when it's coming, what the big picture is, what the history was, why we're doing it that way. Like I have all of those kinds of questions. And so had Crawford not sat down with me for an hour in one day to give me the history, to tell me about the things we're working on in moving forward, I would be lost today. So I think we should.
Yeah. Well, this is great discussion. And I'm glad we brought E up. E doesn't really bother me much, to be honest with you. I think E is a good thing. In fact, I'd have to say whoever really wrote this did a really good job.
Put a lot of effort in. Yeah.
Put a lot of effort in, kept it clean, and doesn't get us in trouble in terms of overloading us. So I guess, Crawford, going back to your point, the reason I was willing to, and I've got a lot of experience, you know, my whole life has been dealing with policy, procedure, guidance, and, you know, manuals, the whole 9 yards. I look at this and I think it's a fair ask of this committee to do these things. It doesn't mean that these all require a tremendous amount of work. It's just giving us an opening to address some of these things in our duties and giving us the authority to do so. So I thought it was a well-written document. And I didn't really have any burning desire to change it. But if somebody did, this is the opportunity.
Well, and I would like to know what Nakenya thinks and what Mark thinks.
You want to know what now?
What they think about the document and 3E.
Absolutely, and I'm hoping to hear from everyone in our committee on this, because there could be a very wise change, and I'm just blind to it. You know what I mean? And I don't see it. But Mark, you have more experience on this than I do, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Well, if I can go really quickly, I think that Crawford basically spoke for me in the beginning, because I think he said a lot of this was my ideas. So.
Okay. I didn't hear him say that. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Nakenya. Mark, are you out there?
Yeah, he's out there. He's out there. He's still developing his thoughts, though.
Oh, okay. I value what you have to say on this.
Right now, I don't see any problem with it, so I would support it. Number E. Okay, well, that's all I have to say right now.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. Joel, what are your thoughts in looking at this?
It looks ready to go. To be honest with you, I don't have much concern about E as long as it's using the word assist. You know, because we're just supporting, and so yeah, to me, it looks like it's ready to go.
Right, right. If that word assist wasn't in there, I think we'd all have a concern.
Yeah, thank you for your thoughts and your well thought out additives, Nakenya. This is really good.
Yeah, good work to whoever was involved in this, because I think it actually. So Crawford, should we make a motion to approve the wording of this?
Would you please?
And we will indeed. So can I have a motion from one of our members here on this subject?
I make the motion to accept
Okay, and do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Joel. And is there any further discussion by anyone on this call regarding this? So we can now have a vote, Monique, on this?
Okay, so regarding agenda item number 6, to make the necessary changes that were discussed and accepted, Scott,
Accept, yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Nakenya,
I,
Lanita,
Yes,
and Joel.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
All right. Well, Crawford, I told you it would get done at this meeting, and it did.
Thank you.
With only 2 minutes left, and I'm like everybody, I have obligations. So Monique, what is, as far as speaking about the plan, can I put that on the next agenda? And
Absolutely.
okay, good.
And you've covered a lot of what's on your work plan with the membership information. So yes.
Absolutely. So next steps. Oh, that's the next step right there. We'll discuss the work plan at the next OCEC meeting. Any other next steps? There's plenty of next steps for the main cab, but for OCEC, I think that pretty well takes it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
May I throw out one item to you? You may want to think about at your next meeting is the annual report. Each subcommittee has an annual report. You might want to put that as a potential for next steps for your next meeting. And that allows you to wrap up the year ahead of time because your committee is ahead in the process. Your cadence is I'll be doggone. Compared to last year, Scott, you guys are doing one hell of a job.
Well, you know
So
what?
if you
Thank
put-
you. I got to say, it's all of you that were, you know, that got this thing heading in the right direction. So, okay, there's a next step. Not really for discussion now, but for us to give thought to it and be prepared to start formulating our end of year report, right? Is that what it's
Yes.
called? Yeah. Thank you, Crawford. I think that's a good idea. So I'm a stickler on keeping things on time. It is 12:30. If I don't have any resistance, I'm going to ask that we adjourn with the comment. Thank you, everyone, for your good work on this meeting. We just covered a lot of stuff. All right. We're adjourned.
Okay.
Have a great
bye,
rest of your
everybody.
week.
Have a great week.
Bye-bye.
You too.
bye, thank you.
Bye, thank you as well.
Bye, Scott.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Monique.
You're welcome. Absolutely. It
You're
was a great
to work
meeting.
with, my friend.
No problem. Have a good day.
You as well.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.